and friends. Anjali is not with us today. She's taking a break. And the first thing I want to say is Happy New Year because this is our first show of the new year. And I have a special person with me today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Lori Akhtar. Uh, for those who have a hard time pronouncing it, it's like Marie, but with an L. Um, I am a facilitator, a coach. I've been working as an agile coach and Scrum Master for several years now. And I am now independent. Um, I am a cisgendered woman, and I'm currently sitting in front of a fairly white background in a black chair. I don't know if there's more you want me to say about that.
No, that is plenty. Thank you so much for coming on on the show and doing this with me today. You want to tell everyone what we're exploring?
Yeah, so we're going to be exploring, since we are in the new year, it's a good time to explore visioning and how we create vision for ourselves, how we set intention for ourselves, and how where we find value for ourselves.
Yeah. The culture of vision. I've spent a lot of time uh, over the last weeks thinking about what this year would look like for me and taking that time and doing that with my family as well, where for the first time, my husband, me, and all five of our kids, we invested in looking toward this year, how we wanted to add value um, uh, in our family unit, in community, uh, what we wanted to do with ourselves, and and how we wanted to contribute to the community. How do you look at visioning, Lori?
It's something for me, and this is very different, I think, from how a lot of people do it. Um, and maybe it is because for me, I'm not as connected to my family anymore, um, and so the collective visioning isn't as much of a thing, except with my spouse. Um, I don't find that I do a lot of intention setting around the new year or the solstice. I'm very, kind of in that agile mindset. I'm very iterative. That's something that's really important for me, and I think I do it kind of constantly, and that's why these big moments don't quite have as much impact on the way I look at my position in the world as they do for a lot of other people. Um, like it's something I'm very hyper focused on pretty much all the time, right? Um,
Yeah, it's interesting and how I looked and how I helped my family through that this journey um, is is that we don't set resolutions. You know, it's no New Year's resolution or anything like that. It's really a point of reflection,
mm-hmm.
looking at with intention. Um, you know, how we want to, how we have been showing up. What do we want to continue doing? What do we want to stop doing? What would we want to do more of? And it's quite refreshing
Mm-hmm.
when we're so busy in this life and to take a moment to truly reflect. And in doing so, I also get to understand a little bit more about each and every one, like what's kind of in their heart
Yeah.
and understanding like, oh, you know what? As they are able to take time to figure out how do they truly want to add value to this world, what do they want to explore, and and I can create those opportunities for my kids. They're thinking like, hey, you know what? Um, my youngest son, he's like, he wants to be a ninja master. Well, that's really cool. So what do I do to invest in that, right? Or if, for my daughter and how she wants to care uh, for the world by protecting wildlife and getting her creating opportunities for her to explore that more. Um, it's quite beautiful.
I really love that, looking at it as a reflection. And
Mhm.
it's something that, um, I guess one of the things I forgot to say about myself is that I'm completing my master's of social work right now. Um, and it's something that with clients or even with those I coach, workplace, things like that, the reflection is so important. Um, and there are so many ways to do it. And like I'm hearing you talk, and I'm realizing that despite having given that advice to so many people, and explored the tool sets for that, I don't do as much of that in those kind of big moments. And some of it is that, like, I'm hearing you speak, and it's so family oriented and how you support your people. But I also have people, and I'm hearing this, and I'm like, yeah, that's actually, it's really nice to take the big moment to do that and not just the small moments, so that you can really reflect back. And I think I've so often looked at these types of resets as looking forward, and I've lived such a chaotic life that I learned a very long time ago that, like, looking forward more than I don't even like looking forward more than 6 months, right? Like, I have some big life goals that are several years out, but like, I'm very confident that nothing will go the way I planned if I plan it too much. Um, so I've often looked at these things as looking forward, which hasn't really served me. But I do love that idea of really making it about, what has served me in the last X amount of time, X amount of larger time, right? And not just the last month,
Mhm.
um, and what has served my family. And I think even just having my wife, and not having children, there's still a lot there to explore from how we can support each other. So I really love that mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's your family, right? And looking at, for me, as I understand, like for me, life is not about self, it's about others and loving others.
Yeah.
And as we celebrated Kwanzaa and we focus so much on unity and
Mm.
unity of the family, unity of the community, and understanding like how do we uh, support one another and serve one another. And it was quite a beautiful experience. And as in the book that I'm writing right now is about a lot of this, and it's about developing that practice.
Mhm.
So it's not once a year, as we were talking about, Lori, that we're doing it continuously, and hopefully those cycles get smaller. So, like when I'm looking at this, it's like, what can I do next? Not planning for 5 years. It's like, what do I want to do next and add value? And that reflection, because as I think how I want to show up, like, did I show up that way? And really ask myself tough questions and saying, like, what are the signals to myself when I'm not walking in my purpose, and understanding from my backlog, and what I say yes to, how what are the acceptance criteria for me? And I
Yeah.
discovered doing this that, hey, you know what? Whatever I do, in 2021, it will align to my purpose and my spark. Because I'm a sparky type of person as a creative, and I have found myself in a lot of things that maybe it wasn't a great idea to be a part of, and I had burnout from it. So that's why, we waited all these weeks to even show up again because it's just burnout because I'm doing this over here and this over here and this over here. And it was a little bit too much and really prioritizing what's important to me and how do I want to add value. And this right here is one thing, to spark others, to inspire others.
Yeah, I brought a lot of agile stuff into my clinical work when I was working with residential folks and in outpatient therapy. Um, and what really spoke to me so much about it, I'm not necessarily someone about like agile your life, like make the Jira for your life. I know people who are, but that concept of prioritizing your life outcomes, like it was super powerful for me and a lot of my clients when we did treatment plans that really looked at, what outcome are we looking at? I think about this a lot with addiction, for instance, or substance misuse, um, where a lot of people just focus on like, we want to get you off of drugs. And sometimes that's valid. But a lot of times, like the real outcome there is I want to have healthy relationships with my family or with money, or, these are the things that have degraded or that I don't have. And my outcome is not just I want to get off drugs, it's I want to be part of this community in a healthy way. This is how I want to add value into the world. And like this thing is a blocker right now. Um, and I really love aligning those things with values. There's a lot of research that looks at shared values, and that shared values and understanding your values is kind of a predicator of like relational success. Um, and that kind of looking at your strengths based on your values, where you want to add value into the world, is really powerful individually and will help your communities kind of the most, right? So doing that prioritization for you. And I think you're right about shortening those cycles, though I do love having the big moments, having the big, like looking back enough to really say, like, yeah, I am confident that I did X, that I provided, to myself or to others in these ways. But I think it is true, like when you get out of sprint planning, which some people here watching this may not understand, but when you get out of planning, so many times my question to people is, does everybody know what they're doing tomorrow? Right? When you get back to your computer, does everybody know what they're doing right now? Um, because it's really hard. Like if you don't know what you're aligning to with your actions, you do lead to burnout. And it's very difficult, especially if you don't know why you're doing it or what purpose it's serving. Yeah, so hard agree on that.
Yeah. Thank you, Lori. As we wrap up here, do you have a final thought
Oh,
would
a
you like to
final
share?
thought that I'd
Mhm.
like to share. Um, I do think that really finding big values to align yourself towards is so helpful. I know that my values are being rights based, being strengths based, community care and healing. Those are the things that really love and imagination. Those are some of the things that really, really I align to. And when I have difficulties making decisions, I can rely on those values. I can fall back to those values. And I think that can be really powerful for people if you just know what those are and how they're changing as well.
Yeah. Thank you. I definitely want to encourage people when you figure out a new year is one moment. As we look at big moments, sometimes we're reflecting when there's a birthday, an anniversary, a new year. It could be a loss. There's different things that kind of naturally initiate reflection for us, but I encourage people to seek how can you do it more often. And and if you want to learn more about how to actually go about reflection, how to create your purpose, um, how to uncover your principles. I'll be sure to put a link in to have some workshops coming up to support those. I normally don't share those things, but I just happen to be doing those things. And as I'm crafting my book and developing workshops that support those, and I'll share those out. And I have ones coming up that, it's pay what you can because I really want to allow to give that gift to people.
And
So,
we actually have some workshops as well. We have some self-care and boundaries workshops
mhm.
coming up that I think might also be helpful for this kind of work.
Yeah. So
Yeah, no.
expect those links that we'll provide afterwards. And remember to like, share on the social media platform that you're watching from. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.